General Motors to suspend operations at several manufacturing sites, including its Lansing area plants.
General Motors, one of the largest and most influential manufacturers in the U.S., has suspended operations at several key plants across the country. Workers across the United States walked into GM plants only to find their production lines halted.
Mary Barrett told shareholders the tariffs on imported cars and auto parts will cost GM between $4 to $5 billion this year alone.
Not because of a strike, but due to the escalating tariffs, skyrocketing costs, and a relentless global supply chain crisis.
To further defend our auto workers, I imposed this 25% tariff on all foreign automobiles.
President Trump's controversial 25% tariffs on imported vehicles and auto parts, which were designed to boost domestic manufacturing, have instead had unintended consequences, raising concerns about the stability of the U.S. automotive sector. In March 2025, President Trump announced a 25% tariff on imported automobiles and auto parts, a bold move aimed at pushing foreign manufacturers to rethink their production strategies. The idea was simple: make imported cars more expensive to drive domestic production. But the road to this goal has been anything but smooth. Think of it like trying to steer a car through a traffic jam. The plan might have looked good on paper, but the reality has caused some serious bumper-to-bumper issues. The tariffs, which targeted imports from countries like China, Canada, and Mexico, weren't a one-size-fits-all approach. Exemptions were offered to auto parts that met the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, USMCA, rules of origin. While this might have seemed like a smooth shortcut for automakers, it wasn't without complications. These exemptions were temporary, and the process to verify parts compliance became more of a toll booth than a quick pass. The complexity of determining the true origin of these parts has kept automakers on edge, wondering which way the road will turn next. For companies like General Motors, GM, the financial impact has been significant. GM revealed that it faced a staggering $4 billion to $5 billion loss due to these tariffs, particularly on vehicles imported from South Korea. The overall response from the automotive industry has been a bit like trying to fix a flat tire in the middle of a highway. Stock prices for major automakers like GM and Ford took a hit, showing just how bumpy this road really is. The administration, however, continues to insist that these tariffs will encourage domestic production. Automakers are still trying to navigate the complex trade landscape. The result? Higher costs, disrupted supply chains, and a growing sense of uncertainty about what's next. Like driving through fog without a GPS. While the tariffs may have been intended to steer American manufacturing in the right direction, General Motors quickly realized they were stuck in a traffic jam of unexpected consequences. In response to the sudden financial pressure caused by President Trump's 25% auto tariffs, General Motors found itself grappling with a steep hill to climb. The company projected a massive $4.5 billion loss, which led to the suspension of production at several major U.S. plants, including those in Michigan, Ohio, and Ontario. This move sent ripples throughout the company, with thousands of workers facing layoffs. The closures were a clear sign that the tariffs were taking a heavy toll, and GM was steering through rough terrain. To keep its wheels turning, GM made a strategic shift, a $4 billion investment to strengthen its U.S.-based manufacturing capabilities. With a focus on gasoline-powered and electric vehicles, the company's move aimed to lessen the blow of the tariff-induced costs. GM's decision to relocate the production of the Chevrolet Blazer from Mexico to Tennessee by 2027 is a notable example of how the company is trying to retool its strategy. The hope? To reduce its dependency on foreign imports and boost domestic production, all while navigating the uncertainties of the global supply chain. This move is a clear indication that GM is taking a proactive approach to adapt to the changing landscape of the automotive industry. It's a smart way to drive through a landscape filled with roadblocks. By investing heavily in U.S. factories, GM is not only aiming to get back on track, but also to build a sturdier foundation for the future, where both gasoline and electric vehicles are driving the charge. But GM wasn't the only one feeling the heat. The ripple effects of President Trump's 25% auto tariffs are reverberating across the U.S. automotive industry, with major players like Ford and Stellantis facing significant challenges. Ford, already facing supply chain bottlenecks triggered by escalating trade tensions between the U.S. and China, has had to halt production at some of its factories, leaving workers idling and costs rising. The American automotive industry relies heavily on China for about 90% of its rare earth minerals, essential components in manufacturing vehicle features like seatbelts and speakers. As Ford CEO Jim Farley put it, the company's operations are currently hand-to-mouth, trying to stay afloat amidst a sea of uncertainties and operational strain. Similarly, Stellantis temporarily laid off 900 workers across 5 U.S. plants and paused production at 2 plants in Mexico and Canada. As the company assesses the long-term fallout of these tariffs, its operations have become more like a game of whack-a-mole. Address one problem and another pops up. Tariffs have also led to a surge in vehicle prices, thanks to higher manufacturing costs. In fact, the average price of a new car jumped 2.5% in just a month, now hitting $48,699, as reported by Kelley Blue Book. This sudden price increase could result in lower sales for automakers, as consumers may be forced to hold off on purchasing or opt for more affordable alternatives. As a result, companies could face significant revenue losses, further squeezing an already fragile market. The surge in prices is attributed to the increased costs of imported parts, materials, and labor, and those costs are quickly being passed on to consumers. To make matters worse, the auto industry is facing supply chain disruptions that are leaving manufacturers stuck in a traffic jam. Automakers are facing delays in parts availability, as many suppliers are not capitalized for an abrupt tariff-induced disruption. A delay at a single supplier's warehouse could bring an entire production line to a standstill. With automakers already struggling to catch up, these disruptions are like putting a pothole in an already bumpy road. In the long run, the rising costs and ongoing supply chain issues may put a serious dent in the U.S. auto industry's global competitiveness. Automakers may find it harder to keep up with international competitors, and as prices rise, so does the risk of losing their edge in the market. And the path ahead seems anything but smooth. The White House's reaction to the automotive industry's growing pains has been swift, but not without its twists and turns. In the wake of mounting production halts and layoffs, President Trump has introduced temporary relief measures, though not all automakers are driving down the same road. One of the key initiatives is the introduction of tariff credits for manufacturers. Under this plan, companies can offset a portion of the 25% tariffs on imported vehicle parts. This move is like throwing a lifeline to automakers, offering a credit equal to 3.75% of the manufacturer's suggested retail price, MSRP, for U.S.-produced vehicles during the first year and 2.5% in the second year. The idea? Make the transition to U.S. production smoother and less costly. In addition, the administration has granted exemptions for certain parts imported from countries that meet USMCA standards. But here's the twist. These exemptions are temporary. It's as if they're giving the automakers a get-out-of-jail-free card, just for now. The terms are subject to change as they continue to review trade relations and tariffs, keeping manufacturers on their toes. President Trump has made several public statements emphasizing that the tariffs are meant to bolster domestic production and reduce reliance on foreign imports. The catch? He's hinted at increasing tariffs further down the road if he doesn't see the desired results. However, industry leaders and labor unions have had mixed reactions. Some see the temporary relief measures as a step in the right direction, but others, like the United Auto Workers, UAW, aren't so sure. The UAW has raised concerns about the rising number of layoffs, calling the situation a bumpy road for workers who are meant to benefit from these policies. On the flip side, some automakers have embraced these incentives as a much-needed push to ramp up domestic investment. This means that the White House's response to the tariffs may provide short-term relief, but whether it leads to long-term stability and growth for the U.S. auto industry is still up for debate. And it's not just these two automakers. The entire U.S. economy is starting to show signs of strain. While the tariffs were designed to boost domestic manufacturing, the consequences are far-reaching, affecting everything from car prices to jobs. Vehicle prices are skyrocketing, with estimates suggesting a potential $6,000 increase per car. So if you were hoping for a bargain on a new ride, well, it looks like the price tag just got a lot heavier. But it's not only car buyers left in the rearview mirror. The manufacturing sector, the very heart of the auto industry, is taking a serious hit. For every job lost on the factory floor, nearly 7 others in related industries are expected to follow. This ripple effect is making the job market sputter, and workers in everything from parts manufacturing to logistics are feeling the burn. It's like the entire system is running out of fuel, and the fallout isn't just affecting automakers. Consumers already facing higher prices at dealerships are tightening their belts. Retail sales in the U.S. have taken a hit, with a 0.9% decline in May 2025, marking the sharpest drop in 2 years. Automobile sales were particularly hard hit, falling 3.5%. With fewer people able to afford new vehicles, that leaves less money circulating through the economy, further slowing down consumer spending. If this keeps up, we might be heading into a real economic slowdown, one that feels like hitting a speed bump at full throttle. And let's not forget about inflation. The tariffs are pushing inflation to levels higher than expected, and the Federal Reserve is on high alert. Chair Jerome Powell has indicated that the tariffs are likely to push inflation above the Fed's 2% target, with potential long-term economic implications. While the Fed has held interest rates steady for now, the evolving economic landscape may prompt future adjustments. While interest rates remain steady for now, we could be looking at hikes down the road. Meanwhile, the tariffs are causing tensions in U.S.-Canada-Mexico trade relations, adding more fuel to an already blazing fire. These tariffs were meant to steer the economy in one direction, but instead they've caused a detour. The long-term effects are still unfolding, and it remains to be seen whether the U.S. will regain its competitive edge or find itself stuck in a trade dead end. With mounting pressure from the industry and consumers, the question arises: can President Trump de-escalate the trade tensions? President Trump's approach to trade has been as bold as it has been unpredictable, using tariffs like a high-stakes poker game. But could the cards finally be shifting in his favor? Recent talks with China have begun to ease tensions. In June 2025, the U.S. and China reached a framework deal aimed at easing some of the trade strain. The U.S. agreed to reduce tariffs to 55%, while China pledged to lower their rates to 10%. This deal not only covers tariffs, but also includes China's commitment to supply rare earth minerals and magnets to the U.S., and even more access for Chinese students to American universities. For Trump, this win is a rare, full house of benefits, positioning himself as a champion of American industry. But not all trade talks have been as smooth as a well-oiled engine. At the recent G7 summit, Trump's early exit left many wondering whether he'd found a tough crowd. While the UK made some positive moves, discussions with the European Union and Japan have been less successful. Trump has openly criticized the EU for not offering a good deal and pointed out Japan's tough stance, signaling that the road to global trade agreements is anything but straightforward. It's like trying to navigate a roundabout. No matter how hard you turn, you can't quite get to the exit you want. Despite the obstacles, Trump remains determined. His team, including Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, has hinted that extensions for negotiations could be on the table as long as countries cooperate. But the overall approach remains one of hard bargaining, with Trump signaling that he's not afraid to adjust tariffs as needed. After all, this trade war isn't a sprint, but a marathon, and Trump's strategy seems to be a test of endurance. So while progress with China signals that some de-escalation might be on the horizon, the global stage remains a tricky terrain. It's unclear whether Trump can balance economic interests with political objectives without hitting too many speed bumps along the way. The U.S. auto industry stands at a crossroads. The path forward will depend on the administration's ability to navigate the complexities of international trade and domestic economic interests. The future of the U.S. auto industry hangs in the balance, with significant decisions looming. How the administration balances the need for domestic manufacturing with global trade relations will determine whether it can regain its competitive edge or face long-term setbacks. The ongoing trade war, tariffs, and rising production costs have already put immense pressure on automakers. The road ahead may be full of twists, but the right moves could steer the industry back on track, potentially ensuring a thriving future for American manufacturing. So what do you think about the tariffs and how they're affecting American manufacturing? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you found this video helpful, give us a like and hit that subscribe button for more updates. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.